Hey.
Hey. Can feel Lex slipping away. Now she's keeping things from me. She's lying to me. I thought I was going to be able to take on this whole role, but clearly I'm in way over my head. How would you feel about talking to her?
Oh, of course. Yeah, whatever you and I need. And I'll also make it clear to Lex that I'm not trying to replace her mom in any way.
Sure, you will be more to boys. Lex is just stuck with me.
Okay, you gotta stop doing that. Believe me, I'm very good. You're the opposite of it.
And for what it's worth, I always thought this guy was an asshole.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for the heads up. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll never make that mistake again.
What are you saying? You're never gonna date again?
I mean, I haven't in 15 years. Why start now? Cassie has this birthmark pattern on her back in the exact shape of Cassiopeia's Fat Johnson W. They're connected and each. So, yeah, no, I'm not interested in giving anyone else the opportunity to walk out.
Guys, if you're on the video and you're not muted, we may be hearing your private conversations. I'm not sure you want us to hear them. Just FYI, so if you could mute yourself. several of you are listed here as iPads. If you could rename yourself to your actual name, that will help us when we get into the meeting.
No, I need that. Either sit on that.
Good evening. Everybody got me?
Hey, Sean.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, just great. Okay. Hold on a second.
Hi, Sean. It's Dawn McKee.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. My camera on? Still trying
Yours
to.
isn't.
Mine
Yours
is.
isn't.
All right. Let me. This is all new. Hmm. can you share screen? All right, I got it.
There you are, Dawn.
Hi.
Hi.
The American flag.
Of course, the one meeting I decided not to dress up. Everybody's we have
You look fine, Gina.
just wearing a ratty t-shirt.
Threw a hoodie on. That's what I did.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's too hot in my house right now. Oh,
Where I'm at, it's 68 degrees. Too
that's
cold.
nice.
Okay, there we go. As they look out at a very dense crowd, we're going to bring in Tom Bevan here for a couple of minutes. President of Real Clear Politics. Tom, always good to have you with us. Obviously, North Carolina, a very important stage. It's called the swingiest of the swing states, and the suburban vote, very important there. And I picked up a number of moments when the president was speaking, I think, to women
TV is on.
speech tonight. Talk to me a little bit about what you're hearing in this so far and what points he's making that you think are aimed at specific voters in North Carolina that he needs.
Please mute yourself if you're not talking. Thank you.
Just overall, he seems in a pretty good mood. I think he does sense that the polling that he's received and that we've seen come out in Florida and North Carolina, two critical states, as you mentioned, has moved in his direction. You're right, he was appealing to suburban voters in the state and suburban women in particular. And he mentioned them by name. He said, you know, they said women don't like Trump. I think.
What are we listening to?
Everybody that's on this Zoom, please mute yourself because we're hearing private conversations.
We all right now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I don't know what that was about, but
Well, it's 7:30. So,
Whose screen are we sharing?
Mine, Ralph's shoes. Hopefully you'll see a flag. Do you see a flag?
I do.
Okay.
Yes.
We're obviously going to start with the pledge here in a moment.
okay.
No problem.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 8th, 2020 Bellefonte Borough Council meeting. Calling a meeting to order. First order on the agenda is a pledge of allegiance and a moment of silence. Ralph Stewart has put a picture of the flag up on our screen, so please stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
Liberty.
liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ralph, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Miss Cleaton,
Here.
Mr. Eaton,
Here.
Miss Omboski,
Present.
Mr. Johnson,
Present.
Mr. Prendergast,
Here.
Miss Thompson,
Here.
Miss Tosti-Vasey,
I'm here.
Miss Walker,
Present.
Mr. Brackbill,
Here.
Mayor Wilson.
present.
So for the edification of everyone, any votes taken this evening will be recorded as unanimous unless there is no audible opposition from members of council. First item on the agenda this evening is the consideration of the mask wearing, social distancing.
Put me on there.
Number 0908-2020-01. I've asked Ralph to kind of give a summary of what we've seen so far.
Sure. As far as emails, letters, written correspondence, we received approximately less than 10 in favor of a mask type ordinance. Not going to go into details or split hairs with, exactly, but generally there are approximately 10 for, approximately 30 against, and then another 15 that asked for a delay, but also against. And then in addition, there's a petition that was online circulated, obviously in-state, out-of-state, in-county signees, but nearly over 1,000 signees, all proposing to be against a mask ordinance. So in general, that's the flavor of written communications. And of course, we try to do our best to provide the link, suggest sharing the link to this meeting. As I mentioned, there's a number, 15-ish written correspondence that asked that no action be taken until a public meeting or an in-person meeting could be held at some point.
May I interject? This is the mayor. I lost my screen, but I think you can still hear me.
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to recommend that a member of council make a motion to not move forward with ordinance 0908-2020-1, the COVID-19 proposed emergency ordinance.
Why?
I'm not making the motion. I'm asking for someone to make the motion.
For the public's purpose, the mayor cannot make motions. He can only.
I'll make the motion. I'll make the motion, Johnson.
Thank you,
Second. I'll second, Joanne.
Who's seconding that?
Thompson.
Thompson?
Joanne, I have something I wanted to add to Ralph's report, if this is discussion time.
Okay, so we've got a motion to completely table. Is that what you did, Johnson? Or was it a motion to delay until we have an in-person public hearing?
Well, my ask was to just not move forward with it.
Yeah, I think.
Mr. Johnson's muted, so.
I'm sorry, it's to take it off the table. And if we see a need, altogether, if we see a need for it someday in the future, we could reconsider it.
Okay, so that's Johnson and Thompson. Okay, we have a discussion on this motion to table.
I have a.
Okay.
When Ralph gave his report of folks that signed petitions, I had 146 signatures on a petition that was just dropped off at my house at 5:15 p.m. this evening. I didn't get a chance to scan it in and send it to others, but I can do that first thing in the morning or drop it off at the borough office. So of the signatures, 88 were residents, 39 were non-resident, or no, there were 40 plus 20, 60, no, 88 plus 40, what's that, 128 residents, 39 non-residents. And this was just dropped off at my house tonight at 5:15 p.m. So I just wanted to add that to the list that Ralph stated. It was circulated by borough residents Claire Kimmel and Tracy Benson. That's all I have.
Okay.
No.
Other comments from council on tabling? For purposes of the public, tabling is only a discussion among council members. The public hearing would follow this if we go ahead with this.
Are we tabling it? I thought the motion was to basically not move forward with it any longer. Yeah, we're not, we didn't motion to table it.
No, we didn't.
We motioned to not move forward with it if that's what council votes,
So a motion to table is a motion to take it off the table, and unless there is a time certain to bring it back, we cannot bring it back unless we start all over again. So this is basically a permanent
tabling.
Tabling, yes.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Is that what you seconded, just to be sure?
Yes.
Okay.
No, I would like to, if you want to talk about the ordinance, that is fine. I don't think we should take it off of the table. For one thing, there's an awful lot of people that don't wear masks, and there's no reason for it. It would be an appropriate time to read a statement.
I think not, because we're only discussing the merits of tabling this.
All right.
If you believe your statement addresses the merits of tabling, then yes, you can go ahead. Since I don't know what your statement says, I can't answer that.
It's the one I sent out to council earlier, but I don't know if it got disseminated. Look, we know that COVID is a highly infectious disease. We know that it's spread through droplets and aerosolized particles produced when people who are infected speak, cough, or sneeze, etc. We also know that asymptomatic people who don't know they even are infected can spread the disease. We also know that until we have a safe, effective vaccine, the only tools we have to fight this disease are testing, which we don't have a lot of in this area, hand washing, social distancing, and wearing masks. The State College area just had 147 cases in the week of August 28th to September 3rd, according to the Penn State dashboard. And we have people that work in State College daily. We've been lucky in Bellefonte so far in that we've only had 68 confirmed cases total. That's according to the CDT on their website on August 29th. But we're either naive or deluding ourselves if we don't think that this virus is going to get here.
Well, we do have the state, the governor's mandates. So it's
and like one of the there's no teeth in it. The purpose of wearing a mask is not to protect the wearer; it's to protect other people. It's to protect.
Yes.
A doctor doesn't wear a mask into an operating room to not catch something from the patient. It's to not give the patient something.
Can I just interject real quick and ask the public to please mute yourselves? It's clearly somebody's TV in the background is.
Right.
Ralph, can you please mute everybody?
Well, except for council. Oh, yeah, I guess.
Except, well, no,
Yeah.
except for the person speaking.
Yeah.
We can't speak up if you're muted.
Well, I'm reading a statement, so you can comment on my statement when I'm done. Since the only tools we have to slow we can't prevent it, but we can slow the progress of the disease is wearing a mask. It seems to me not only inconsiderate, but irresponsible to refuse to wear one. I've heard the comment, it infringes on my rights. And I was not aware anywhere that anybody had a right to spread disease.
Thank you.
The First Amendment is in the Constitution. I've never seen it. Even if it were, all rights have limits. You can't, simplistically, you can't shout fire in a crowded movie hall. You know, people say they don't want to wear masks because it's uncomfortable. Truth is, nobody wants to wear a mask. Adults do things to help other people, even though it is uncomfortable. I can't imagine it's comfortable putting on a fire suit and jumping into a burning building or dragging somebody out of a wrecked car. You know, what are we trying to actively spread the disease? It's not. I get a little worked up about this because it's to protect the wearer. It's to protect other people. If you don't care about other people, don't wear a mask. If you're infected, you're not tested.
I don't think anyone's disputing that, Mike.
Well, then why are they not wearing masks? Why can't we have some teeth?
Point of order, Madam President.
Yes, what's your point of order?
We're not here to argue with one another. We're here to give a comment and then.
Right, and that's my comment's over.
Okay. What other council members have a comment before we vote on this motion to permanently table?
I do, if it's okay.
Who's this?
Ann Walker.
Okay, go ahead, Ann.
I do feel a sense of urgency about this ordinance. I think that Bellefonte has been very fortunate that we have not seen the kind of numbers that State College is seeing, but I think that we need to do this. We need to pass this with all deliberate speed in order to prevent that. That's what I had to say. Thank you.
Anyone else on council have a comment?
Randy.
Gina and I do. Randy or Gina.
Randy, you can go ahead.
Well, first of all, what I'd like to say, I was on the committee, the safety committee, chairman of the safety committee.
Whoever's, hold on a second, Randy.
That's Betty.
Whoever
Ralph,
has,
if you click
please mute everybody because we're having problems. Please unmute Randy so he can speak.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was looking at too many other pictures here. Anyway, I'm chairman of the safety committee, and it was my committee that put this ordinance together with a few other folks from council. And the purpose of it was to reinforce some of the guidelines from the state, such as mask wearing, washing hands, and social distancing. We're also using another ordinance from another town, trying not to redo the wheel. And I think in some cases, I will agree that we may have overstepped our bounds of what we are responsible for. We have to let public be responsible for themselves. In most cases, we can't cure everything. I am not opposed to tabling this. And I am opposed to some of the some of the language or what it refers to that I think got a lot of people upset. To Mike's question about masks, I don't think anybody's saying they're not wearing a mask. There are certain areas that they don't want to wear a mask. For me, I'm going to protect my family. I'm going to protect myself. I will wear a mask where I need to wear it. I don't usually wear a mask when I'm out walking my dog. If I know I'm not going to come in contact with somebody, I have a mask in my pocket. If I do come in contact, then I have it with me, but I don't wear it all the time. And I personally don't plan on wearing it all the time. I do get a little leery when I walk into a store and either store employees or others do not have a mask on. That's probably the last time I'm going to step into that store before this COVID ever ends. So I think there's reasonable purposes for wearing a mask. The word require a mask, I keep being told that we can't do that. It's not legal. We cannot just basically require people to wear masks. I think the best we can do is recommend. And I agree with the mayor. There's already guidelines there. We didn't change any guidelines and we didn't increase the guidelines. We just want to reinforce the guidelines. I think some of the topics in the ordinance are good. I like the educational part where if there's an issue, people would be educated about it before any kind of ticketing would be done. And then also looking at that, I think it puts the onus on the business owners, where in some cases could create issues between the business owner and public for those who are strongly against wearing a mask. And I don't think that's fair to the business owner. So I think that's something else that would need to be relooked at in the ordinance as it's written. So I favor tabling this ordinance.
Any other comments from council members? Melissa?
Gina can go first since she's been waiting in line.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. I'm obviously in favor of tabling the ordinance. My concerns, and I'd like to hear from Sean about this, but my concerns are that it is repetitive of what is already mandated by the governor. And the additional piece to this is the enforcement piece. And I'm concerned that this will create extra burden and potentially extra costs for our police department, in addition to just the nuts and bolts and the kind of relationships with having to enforce this with our public. I think that it'll put extra strain on our police department and on local magistrate to decide on fines. At some point, doesn't have to be right now, because I know that there are other council members that would like to talk, but I'd like to hear from Sean and his input on how he feels this will go in regards to the police department. So, that's all.
Well, we'll finish with the council members, then we'll go to Sean. How's that? Melissa?
Thank you. I agree with Mike and Anne. I personally wear masks everywhere, including when I helped my friend move twice in 90-degree weather. It wasn't a big deal for me. As a business owner, I support this. Not wearing any of the 100 other masks hats I wear to do, volunteer work in this town, not wearing any of those. Personally, it's a choice I make. I agree with Randy that maybe some of the language would need to be ironed out. I agree with Gina in that I don't know how we would enforce any of this. Those are my concerns, but I think Randy is being a little bit, optimistic when he says that most people wear masks because they see the good in it. I don't think very many people, I think the majority, I think a minority just don't care about their fellow residents. But you know what? That's their right. And I'm not a constitutional scholar, and neither are the majority of the other people on this call. But we're just all trying to do the best that we can for the community that we care about. And I'm trying to have a lot of empathy for people in this situation, and both people who are for and against it. I'm trying to have a lot of empathy because we are all just trying to get through this pandemic together.
John, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah. I'm in favor of tabling the motion, but I would I'm of the opinion that I would like us to continue to work on an ordinance or something, because there are some issues that we do need to, or I feel that we should address, because one of the topics that prompted this ordinance was the concern over leakage of student partying out of the center region. I'm going to have to say I am completely amazed how well Penn State's COVID-19 efforts have succeeded so far, considering how badly places like the University of Alabama, the University of Iowa, Iowa State have done. Even locally, Bloomsburg had to go to all online classes. So when part of this program or this ordinance was in support of that effort at Penn State, I think it behooves us to continue to figure out what we can do to possibly constrain any possible student partying leakage or any behavior that might become a problem later in the fall. So I'm in favor of tabling the motion, but not permanently. I mean, I think we should continue to look at it.
So John, if that's where you're coming from, then what you would be doing would be voting no on the tabling motion, and then offering a substitute motion for the public hearing for the purposes of reviewing, amending, and possibly passing such an ordinance.
What I'm saying that we should table.
The way the motion was stated, it was a permanent tabling. It only allows a yes or no vote. If you vote yes and the majority says yes, then this is totally off the table. If you vote no, then it comes back to, do you want to suspend the public hearing for a in-person hearing and amendments as requested by the 15 people? And that would be a separate motion. But the way this motion was stated, it's either you move ahead with it right now or you don't.
Okay.
Joanne, I have a question about the tabling. Would tabling this, I'm sorry, I kind of thought that tabling this ordinance permanently still allowed later for another ordinance to be drafted and considered.
According to Robert's rules, if you table an ordinance and you want to bring it back up later, someone from the majority side of the vote has to request to bring it back on the table for a specific reason. And you could do that, but it's not, I'm losing my words here.
I know, I'm patient.
If we table this ordinance, can we then work on something else that might be more acceptable to a?
If you do that, then what you have to do is bring this back before council to say, we want to reconsider a masking and social distancing order with a substitute ordinance.
So the answer, John, is yes.
Joanne,
Yeah,
Andy. So I'm a little confused myself. If we table it, it's tabled.
correct.
So if we want to bring it up, we just bring it back off and we can revise it the way we want. It would still have to be re-advertised. There's no reason we have to make
Correct.
the ordinance.
Correct. Once we table it, we would have to go back for a new advertisement with a new copy of the
We would
ordinance.
bring this
Yeah.
ordinance back off, bring it to committee. We could work on it again and then move it back out for advertising again if we want to, if we feel
Yes.
we need to.
Yes, and I think for the public's purposes, since we've had so many requests for an in-person meeting, there should, if this passes as tabling it, then we should have a second motion to say that the second public hearing would be in-person, socially distanced meeting, just so that we respect the what the public has requested. And then we would vote on whether we would do that or not.
Yes.
Okay. Sean, do you want to have any comments?
Or
I'll keep it short. Either way that council decides to go, obviously the police department will be having to, we'll be dealing with enforcing it or not enforcing it. I just want to let you know that what we're seeing right now, we're not seeing any students coming into town in big droves. I'm out every day during the daytime. It's pretty busy in town. I'm seeing, the vast majority of the people wearing masks when it's appropriate to do so. And then we haven't had any complaints where in the beginning we were having quite a few complaints of, businesses not wearing them, certain individuals not wearing them. We haven't had any mask related complaints. And I'm not saying everybody's wearing them, but what I'm seeing in the town and the parks and in the Diamond area.
hey, Sean, I would like, if you don't mind, let Jason speak to the enforcement part of this proposed ordinance. I think that has some significance on, I know there's been some questions on how we would enforce it. Could it be enforced, how easily or whatever? And I think Jason has some things to say about that. We had a previous conversation. I asked him to join us tonight.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
So first I'll address Mr. Eaton's concern with the students coming to Bellefonte to drink and things along that line. Just most of that would mean they would be coming to a bar to drink and party, maybe to try to get away from some of that. But we only actually have one open bar in town where they would be able to go. The rest of our drinking establishments are clubs, and they would have to be signed in by members. So they wouldn't be able to come in any kind of significant numbers. And the only bar really they could come to is over at Governor's Pub, which is a fairly small bar. And right now with the limited seating with the governor's mandates, it doesn't seat that many people. So they would turn people away at this point if they got too many. So we are fortunate, I guess, to a degree. At this point, most of our drinking establishments are clubs, and that does limit any outside activities like that coming here. So it's not much of a concern for us right now, because anyone that would want to do that would have to be signed in by members of the clubs. Does that help at all?
I understand, and I appreciate your point, and that is correct. I agree with that. I think more the question is the enterprising entrepreneur that decides to have a house party.
Sure.
And
that is an appreciated unknown right now. And likely if we would have something like that arise, we would be dealing with that on probably more of a disorderly conduct type situation, because I'm sure in town, if we get any kind of groups like that, we're going to get calls from neighbors, and that'll be something that we would be able to address through other avenues probably right now.
as long as we can get IDs so that if they are students at the university, that information can get back to the university for any
And
potential.
that's part of what we do when we would go to calls, certainly. We try to identify people that way, especially if it's a house party like of some significance. We would want to know if there's an underage drinking issue. So we would be looking at identifications anyway. But we haven't seen that as of yet. Certainly if that would arise, that would be something we would bring up. On the enforcement side of it, I did speak with our magistrate about this last week. And just so council has an idea, the enforcement side of this would have some hurdles, to use the chief's word, because depending on the kind of call we would get, if it's somebody that says somebody was too close to them, how do we establish how close they were? There's just a lot of different little caveats that we could get into with this that I foresee arising. And certainly we would deal with them however they come, but it is going to be some muddy water for us to traverse and try to get through. The fine side of this, just so council is aware, the fine typically set for a borough ordinance as a starting is a $50 fine. But until we add on court costs, a filed citation through our magistrate for a $50 fine for this would total $150. So it would be a $150 fine for anybody that violated this ordinance.
If they got to $300,
and it could certainly go up from that. It can go up to whatever, but a starting fine is typically $50. With court costs, it totals $150, and that would probably be the starting point for this. And obviously, that would be after a warning, which is going to take some time to add names to computers, come back. There's going to be some things involved there. The other side of that is probably likely we would see. I suspect we would see a lot of people calling hearings, which is officer overtime to go to those hearings. That's just a guess on my part, but I seeing the pushback that we're getting, I would suspect that that's probably what would happen. So there is going to be some things there that we would probably see. But again, we're not getting a lot of complaints on this right now. I do know I did talk to a supervisor at the dispatch center also, actually just this evening before the meeting. And the highest number of calls that State College has gotten in the last 2 weekends has been mass violations, to the point they have to assign officers just to take the calls. I don't suspect that would be an issue for us because we don't have that population. But having said that, I suspect we're going to get a lot of calls if this would go on the books. Because once it's there, we have to address it. We have to respond to the calls. We can't ignore it. So on that side of it, we would probably see a bit more of taxing on time and manpower issues to address them if we would see some kind of volume. So there's just a lot of unknowns with it, certainly. And I mean, we will do whatever council deems they want done. That is our job. But I say that also just asking that you be aware that there may be some things arise, manpower wise, overtime wise. If somebody is resistant of us investigating it, there's just a lot of different caveats that are unknown at this point. So
and then close with that, I would just would like if it is tabled and there's more discussion, if someone from myself or Sergeant Brower would be able to help you through some of that in the meeting, if you decided to look at a different version or different wording, and we can tell you where we're going to have some hurdles. We're not have hurdles. And as it's written now, as Jason pointed out, there's going to be some hurdles. Not that, it has nothing to do with our thoughts about the personal thoughts. It's what we're going to have to deal with on the end with our relationship with the community, which we need to be positive, especially in this time, in this day and age. Is there anything else?
I have a question on.
Yes. Go ahead, Mike.
If we do table it, would we, and we bring it back up, we have to re-advertise and go through all that again, right?
Exactly. Unless I'm wrong, Ralph.
That's what I would rather see it
That is correct.
the committee and worked on than tabled.
Well, I have a question, Joanne.
Yes, Anne, go ahead.
Thank you. If we do vote to pass this, can we go back and amend it later? I know we've done that in the past. Is that a possibility? If we find the need to amend it?
Yes.
Okay.
Same thing, that would have to be re-advertised, or, bringing a new ordinance up later on would have to be re-advertised.
But this would be the thing at the moment, and it would be, okay.
We'd have to start from square one again.
I have a question for Sean. Can I ask?
Yes.
Sean, or Jason, one of the concerns if this wasn't passed was that business owners that may find resistance, say if a business owner is requiring masks, is complying with state mandates, and they're encountering a customer that refuses to wear a mask, the concern was that they could not call upon police to assist with that customer.
We could remove that customer for trespassing at that point.
Okay, we don't need
And
the
they can
ordinance.
refuse service. Yeah, they would refuse service, and the individual does not leave as required or asked to do so by the management or the owner. Then they call 911 and we'll remove them and take care of that situation at a disorderly conduct level.
Right. So there's the ordinance isn't needed to do that. That already exists,
right,
no matter what.
Okay.
But
Even
we
if
also
they're selling food, Chief.
Excuse me.
I think if they're an inspected, licensed entity, according to what's in the Department of Health guidelines, you can't. You have severe difficulty refusing service.
I respectfully disagree with you, John. Any business.
I'm just reading what's in the Department of Health guidelines.
Joanne, for the order.
Yes, we shouldn't be discussing these. It's just whether we're going to be tabling or not. Is there
Right.
any other discussion specifically on tabling at this point? If not, Ralph, I think we need a roll call vote.
There are.
Randy
has
got
a
his hand
comment.
up. Randy's got his hand up.
Randy has a comment.
Okay, I can't see Randy. Go ahead, Randy.
I still want people to understand where we're at with this. We are tabling it. If we want to bring it off the table, we can bring it off the table, and we can discuss the same ordinance. We can revise this ordinance. We don't have to create a new ordinance. We'll still, even if we would have a meeting tonight to discuss what we're going to do with it, and we start making changes, the changes are going to be so much, you're going to have to re-advertise it anyway. So all we're doing is tabling this at this time and possibly bring it back at a later date if we want to make changes to it. And my other question to go along with that is, even though it's tabled, could the safety committee still look at this and make changes either on their own or as a committee?
Yes.
Okay. So, and then the other thing I'd like to do is to ask council to have the respect to please call on the chair lady to ask your question and not start questioning the person that just spoke. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Yeah, Doug.
Deb's.
Doug, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, I would be in favor of tabling this for further discussion to fine tune it. My only comment would be is that we do not live in a bubble. I would be willing to bet that everybody here has traveled outside of Bellefonte at some time in the last week, whether it's the State College or anywhere else. And it isn't about what you're going to catch in Bellefonte. If you go to Walmart and you're exposed by somebody there, you're bringing it back to Bellefonte with you, whether or not they have symptoms or you have symptoms. And then you can be an asymptomatic spreader of the disease. I'm very much in favor of wearing masks when it's feasible and appropriate, when you're around other people and cannot physically distance. It just makes sense because it protects everybody.
If we table
Doug,
it.
wait a minute. Doug has his hand up. Let him
Oh, I
speak.
didn't see him. Sorry, Doug.
Very well said, Deb. I agree with everything you've said. The other question I have, Madam President, is does the public get to weigh in on this at this time?
If we table it, not this evening, it would, unless they absolutely feel that they need to, because what we would be doing is holding a public hearing at a later date in which we would obtain all of the comments.
Well, I think
I asked that of Ralph this afternoon because I had the same question. And
may I finish?
Go ahead.
I think it would be appropriate. We have a lot of people here who want to participate, and you need to let them have some general comments.
And that's why I said we're not going to stop them, but we could suspend them. But if they feel that they need to comment based on what they've already heard, we will allow them to do that.
So let me get this straight. If we table it, it's pretty much dead until we resurrect it at some future point.
Correct.
If we table it and just make an amendment to send it back to committee, we have some time to work on it. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Either way.
I didn't think those were two different things.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Aren't
They're
they?
not. They're
Yeah.
no. Randy did a good job of explaining it. Randy, you want to say it again?
That's what I'm trying to clarify. I don't
Muted.
Oops. Killing me.
So
If we table
the vote will be, do we table this now? Yes or no?
And what happened?
If we table it, then there could be a second motion to refer it back to the safety committee for further review and possibly bringing it back. But unless that second motion is made, then it's permanently dead.
But I had asked the question, Madam Chair, President, if the safety committee wanted to continue to work on this ordinance with some changes based on feedback that we're receiving, we could still do that as a committee or as individual.
Yes,
safety.
we can, but we have to have a motion from council in order to do that. That's all I'm saying.
And when do we make that motion?
After this vote, can't do it during this motion.
Madam Chair,
Yep.
could we do a straw poll vote and see generally what the outcome would be? And if the motion does not pass, we could open up the people on the call for their comments. Of course, if the motion passes, it's dead. If we do a straw poll vote, we would kind of see, how it's going to go. And if it's not going to be successful, we could take the input from the citizens on the call.
I respect that, Ralph, but I still think that their comments, public comments, may have an influence on council members on their voting decision. So I understand exactly what you're saying, but I think they need to make comments if they so desire.
I don't know where to go from here. I'm hearing multiple different things.
Well,
Well, I would ask the public if anybody has any comments first. That's the first step.
Before we vote to table?
That makes sense to me. You have to confer with the rest of the council what they think.
Ralph, is that copacetic?
I think you could certainly do that. I mean, this is more or less a hearing with a scheduled vote. It's certainly, you're looking for input from the public. I think you could certainly handle this by allowing the public to comment.
Before we had the vote to table, okay.
And Joanne, I would certainly limit time, so maybe.
Oh, that was where I was going next.
3 minutes.
We're on the same page here. So Ralph, can you do, I think the only way, because there's so many people here, we can't see them all on one screen. If individuals want to make a comment, put your name and street address in the chat box, and we will go down the list by who calls. So for example, if I see Margaret Cook wants to make a comment, put in Margaret Cook, where you live, and she would be the first person to talk. MacBook Air, if you could rename yourself and you want to speak, you can do that as well. And you're limited to a maximum of 3 minutes each. Okay? The first person I see is Chris Morelli, 533 East Lynn Street.
Hello, everybody. And thank you, Joanne, for allowing me to make the comments. I just have some general comments to begin with about ordinances. You know, no matter what you do as an ordinance, it costs money. It costs money for the due diligence. It costs money for the drafting. It costs money for meeting. It costs money for voting, implementing, advertising. In addition to that, if it isn't 100% foolproof, everyone is going to go to the county and contest their tickets, and you're going to get a ton of officer overtime in addition to all the other costs. So I'm not in favor of any borough or township or municipality that wants to create ordinances for everything we do in this community. Regarding this issue, I believe, like a lot of folks have said, the state, who number one is qualified to make decisions on rules because they have a health department full of experts and professionals at the very least to come up with what we're doing. We're doing it fairly across the state, whether any of us agree with it or not. Everyone is dealing with the same set of rules. And I don't believe in following other townships or communities just because we think it's saving us money. It is not saving us money. You even have the gentleman or the group that's drafting this having doubts about it, in addition to what it's going to cause our police force. And they have a lot of other important work to do. I wish we didn't have this thing. I wish nobody died of this thing. Yesterday, 275 people died of it. It's been the lowest number since March. That's in a country of 329 million, okay? When you're in law school, one of the things they say in law school is there are only three things that matter: the facts, the facts, the facts. This is a very emotional issue, but you guys are there to deal with the facts, make sure you have the correct facts, and in this subject, nobody knows what the correct facts are. There's so much going on right now in this country with this pandemic, and even the physicians are changing up. So I would be in favor of not recreating the wheel that our governor has already done for us. And if someone breaks those laws, those are the ones our police need to enforce. So I hope if you get rid of this tonight, okay, thank you, Ralph. If you get rid of this tonight, don't bring it up because you can't create a foolproof thing. Thank you again, and thank you, Ralph, for all your have helping us have these comments. Thank you, Joanne.
You're welcome. Dave Wolf, 316 East Beaver Street, you're next.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to make a couple of points and pose a couple questions to the group here. One of them is that, you know, I would ask, if nothing else, that as representatives of the citizens of the borough, you ask the public, more than just one or two surveys, what do your constituents want as a vote? Do they want the mask? Do they not want the mask? Or some other combination thereof? I think it's up to the citizens that you represent to tell you how they feel, what they want you to do as a representative of their community. The other thing is I don't want to see businesses become the police and have to chase down and find, officers to get people to cooperate and so forth. My opinion is we're already driving business out of this community as it is, and I see more and more of it being driven out as a result of, if we impose this, I understand the concern, but if we impose this, we're driving more business away. They will go online, they will go to other communities that don't force them to wear the mask. The other piece that, as I understand, and somebody could refute it if they can, I understand that the borough police are on reduced hours as it is. If that is true, are we asking them to take on a bigger burden, whether it's costly or not? And I just don't think that this is in the best interest. There are certain situations, yes, but walking down the street with a dog or a person, no. There are just some situations that I think we're asking for more of a burden and a headache as a community. And we are not Penn State. We are not the students. Thanks.
Dave, just to answer your question, they are not on reduced hours.
Okay.
They were, but they're not anymore.
They were, but they're not anymore?
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Stacy Pudliner, you're next. In 192 Amberley Lane.
Thank you. So I'm also a business owner. I own a high-end cleaning business. And so a couple, I guess, comments. I'm also a mom. And, from my perspective, as far as this ordinance is concerned, we're already, from a mother's parent perspective, we're already requiring children to wear masks all day in school. So now we want to wear them continuously when they're home, outside, playing with friends, walking down the street. I live in a community and neighborhood, and nobody has had COVID in my neighborhood. And everybody's pretty respectful. Everybody keeps their distance. So I think we're asking a lot from the kids. They're already being asked a lot in school. Now, a lot of those schools are already going virtual. I get that. But these kids are now home. So now we're putting extra pressure on the children. And then obviously the police officers, we need to be aware of this. This is already a stressful situation. So now we're adding more stress and more pressure in places that it doesn't need to be. The other thing, I guess my question would be, or one way of kind of looking at this from a different space is, we can wear masks, you can do all those things, but has anybody considered, which I haven't seen anywhere, from my overall knowledge, and again, I own a cleaning business, so this is what I do. Has anyone considered the fact that whether you have one on or not, when you're inside a building, that air is recirculating? So when you're inside your home, whether you're inside a building, you're still recirculating the air. So you can do those things and wear them inside, but you're still going to have airborne germs, airborne particles. You still have mold. So from a disinfecting space, I guess my question would be I know what I'm doing for my clients and the service we're offering, but from a disinfecting space, could it be, or would it be more reasonable to say, hey, what are you doing? Like, look at it from a proactive space versus a reactive space. I think, kind of looking at this ordinance, and the other thing I just saw today, that the governor is now on the 21st of this month going to allow 50% of people in restaurants. So I think we're moving in the right direction as a state overall, and everybody's doing what they feel is right. And I think we almost have to trust that judgment. When we start stepping these boundaries and saying, I'm going to put this mandate, well, now we're taking that away from the people that live here. I can tell you, I don't go downtown State College. Not because I'm against wearing masks in stores or where needed, but I'm not going to take my kids down there. So, and I'm not going to go down myself because I don't feel, for me, I need to wear one outside.
3 minutes.
That's 3 minutes. Thank you, Stacy. Yeah. Just FYI, the way this proposed ordinance is written is that should Governor Wolf increase it to 50%, then our this ordinance, if it were to pass, would do exactly the same thing. We linked it to what the state is doing, not what we think was right or wrong. It's linked directly to their comments. Tim Glahn, 1230 Summit Drive.
Okay. Hi. I own the Crown Bellefonte, and we're affected by this greatly. And we've had some ups and downs. And right now, it's kind of a downturn and whatever. But this has nothing to do with that. When I first started watching this, the Pirates are going to be on tonight, and I thought this is going to be a short meeting because the initial motion was to let it go, and it was seconded, and then it turned into it being tabled right in front of my eyes when I didn't hear anybody say tabling it. I could be wrong. I don't have instant replay like I would on the Pirates game, but but the initial motion was to table it or let it go, and then it turned into let's table it. And I would like to see the vote be let's let it go. And if we want to go back to it because of everything the governor's doing, he did a great job and everything's moving forward, and I'm excited about that. So please, that's not table it. Let's get rid of it. That's my opinion. And everybody at the Hofbrau wears masks, and we clean, and we do everything right. So thanks again. Thanks for your time. Love Bellefonte.
Montika Comfort, 100 North Allegheny Street.
Hi, I'm Montika Comfort. We own Comfort's Jewelers and CO2 Boutique. Our store's been there for 40 years, and we have never once asked Borough for anything, but I am asking that you not pass this, not table it, don't change it, because the parking meters have already gone up 25 cents for 15 minutes. Now they're, or from a half an hour to 15 cents, and every person that comes in the store comments on that. I can't believe how much parking meters are. This isn't State College. And if they have a fear of getting an extra fine or a fine from the chance that they didn't have a mask on when they get out of the car, they're just not going to come to town. If 25 cents in a parking meter makes that big of a difference to people, they'll just go somewhere else, shop online, go to Amazon. I think we're creating extra issues for our town. We're already suffering because of COVID and being closed. We're trying to make up for 2 months where we weren't open, and this is really not helping us. So if you care about your downtown businesses, please don't pass this. Dave Woodrings from Woodrings Floral Garden, he's been in town longer than we have, 45 years, and he is against this. So remember your merchants that have been here a long time, and please vote no to this.
Thank you. Rod Beard, 101 North Allegheny Street.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity here. Just having reviewed the ordinance, and I understand the desire of government officials to want to try to do something in this situation that we're in. But I would caution, number one, I think you heard from your police department about enforceability issues with this. And I've heard from, although I do not practice criminal law, I don't practice in that area. I have heard from others in that space that enforceability of an ordinance like this is very questionable. So I think they've already alerted you to some of the problems that you will face in your attempts to do good work here. It may backfire. The second point I'd like to make is that we don't know enough about this virus yet to think that an ordinance requiring mask wearing is actually going to solve the problem. There's other data that indicates it may cause more problems, and I don't know that a mask wearing ordinance for a local jurisdiction to adopt an ordinance and put that burden on your local people in addition to what's already been placed on citizens and businesses by the state rules that we all are already living by would result in any benefit. I think the negative impact of this would be more substantial than the positive impact. And again, I do have concerns about the notion of, if you don't have the virus, that's really the key. I think testing would be a more appropriate approach for the borough to take. if you really want to do something to alleviate this situation, find out who has the virus and address that, not 100% of the population. I thank you for the opportunity to speak.
I don't see anybody else on the chat group. Is there anybody else that wants to speak?
Joanne?
Yes.
So from what Ronnie had said, how we got into this was a request from the county in order to coordinate with other townships and boroughs around in Center County around us. And that's how we got involved with this. And when Penn State failed to honor their own mask up or pack up, it turned me around to say, okay, well, they spent a lot of time, spent a lot of money on this program, and now they're ignoring it because when they had the large party of freshmen, I believe it was, the first weekend they were back, and you didn't hear anything that was done with that, which tells me that I agree that this ordinance, the way it is not able to be taken care of by the police or anybody else. It's up to each individual. So again, I'm in favor of, I guess we're at a tabling situation right now. So I'll call question.
Is there any objection to the question, calling the question? May I make one quick statement since I haven't spoken? My only concern is, I think tabling it is okay as long as we have a second motion to refer back to the safety committee for further review to see if we can fix some of the problems. This afternoon, Ms. Dan, who is a former police officer in State College, sent several recommendations for amendments that I think greatly improved it. I do agree that it does need to be improved if we are to pass it. I think if we vote to table, then we need to have a second motion in order to review and see if we want to go ahead with something different. That's all I'm going to say at this point. I had a much longer statement, but I think I'll just leave it there. So, seeing no other comments, please do a roll call, Ralph. Sure. So if you're in favor of tabling, vote yes. If you're in favor of not, vote no.
Now, may I ask a question, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay, so the vote is to either table the ordinance or pass it tonight or vote on it tonight. Is that correct? I'm just trying to be clear.
This first motion is to table it. If it's not tabled, then there could theoretically be a second motion that says we will suspend the vote on it until we can have a public in-person meeting, public hearing, socially distanced at a later date.
Okay, but if I vote no to table, what am I voting for?
You're voting to continue either for someone else coming up with a second motion saying you can go to a public in-person meeting as requested by the 15 letters that came in at a date and time to be determined. And we could then meanwhile also tweak the current ordinance to improve it. So that's going to have to be advertised anyway.
Okay, so but there is no possibility of passing this evening. Is that what I'm given to understand?
There is a possibility if the vote on this motion and a motion to delay the vote both say, let me back up. You say no to tabling.
Okay.
And then there's a second vote that says no to holding a public hearing, socially distanced in person. Then we would continue doing the whole thing this evening.
Okay, thank you.
Does that help?
That helps. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. This gets complicated and I'm sorry. Okay, so the vote is, do you want to table or not? Ralph, go ahead.
Ms. Clayton.
Yes.
Mr. Eaton.
I'm going to say yes.
Ms. Ombosky.
No.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes. But now I'm messed up. I thought we had a motion to not, this is going to be turned down tonight. And then
Right.
if somebody, so I made the motion to,
Table it.
Table.
Yes.
yeah, so I'm in favor of it. Yes.
So yes. You're
Okay.
good?
Yes.
Mr. Prendergast,
No.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey,
No.
Ms. Walker,
No.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
It was 5 yeses, 4 noes.
So it is tabled.
Okay, now Joanne, at
Yes.
this point, can I make a motion to send the topic back to Randy's Safety Committee for
Yes, you-
review? So that they can work on the topic, and if they choose to come up with something in the future, they can bring that to council.
That is appropriate.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
And I will second it.
So that was Eden and
Prendergast.
Prendergast.
Joanne?
Discussion? Yeah?
I just want to make sure Sean had asked that a representative from the police department be on that committee, and I would like to ask that that is fulfilled, please.
Yes. Yes, we can do that.
Thanks.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none. Let's do a roll call vote again, just because of this is a controversial issue.
Ms. Cleaton,
Yes.
Mr. Eaton,
Yes.
Ms. Ombowski,
Yes.
Mr. Johnson,
No.
Mr. Prendergast,
Yes.
Ms. Thompson,
Yes.
Ms. Tosti-Vasey,
Yes.
Ms. Walker,
Yes.
Mr. Brackbill.
Yes.
There's 8 yeses and 1 no.
Okay, so we will refer this back to the safety to determine whether they want to revise, redo, and bring back, and they will bring it. If they do, they will bring it back and take this off the table at a future meeting. So the public hearing and the masking issue is now complete. We will move on with the rest of the agenda. Public, if you'd like to stay and listen to the rest of it, you may. If you'd like to go, you can do that as well. It's up to you. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate hearing your input.
Thank you.
It'll be thrilling if you stay.
So the first item on the agenda is approval of minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move Brockville.
I'll second.
Brackbill and Prendergast. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Consent agenda. We have one item on the consent agenda, the Stover, McLaughlin, and Boyce. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Written communications, Ralph?
First one is from Center Safe, and it's about an event coming up or some emphasis coming up. We have Don McKee with us on this video meeting. So I'm just going to give a real quick overview. They're interested in doing some lighting, possibly in the trees was the first initiative, but possibly on the street light lamp posts along High Street, basically going up towards the courthouse on West High Street. Dawn, I'll leave you take it over from there.
Well, thank you for inviting me and for all the work that you're doing in Bellefonte. My name's Dawn McKee. I work as a special projects coordinator at Center Safe, formerly Center County Women's Resource Center. It's good to see a lot of familiar faces. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and in light of COVID-19, we normally hold a large event in front of the courthouse, but we're trying to figure out a way to spread awareness about domestic violence, to let victims know that they're not alone. With COVID-19, a lot of them are isolated with their abuser. So we really wanted to expand it to communities. We reached out to Bellefonte Borough, State College Borough, Millheim, Penns Valley area, and Phillipsburg to see if they would be willing to shine a light on domestic violence. Our thought with when I first talked to Ralph were to string lights in the trees and put signs in local businesses to let victims know that there are support systems out there for them. There are resources that they can reach out to. And then we realized, well, that's going to take an awful lot of lights. So we thought maybe we would sort of centralize it to the lampposts or maybe the gazebo in Talleyrand Park, where we get a lot of foot traffic, where a lot of people are coming in and out of. And really the whole emphasis was there's a whole community of people behind you, not just Center Safe, but people that are here for you that you can reach out to. In addition to that, we would like to go to wherever the lights are going to be strung, to local businesses and have them put signs in their windows, put information out about Center Safe and other resources that are available in their store, so that it's a safe way for people to access information. So that's really pretty much it. If it's approved and if it's something that you're interested in joining us with, we would like to start probably the end of September stringing lights. And we can have some volunteers come to help with that, if that's okay with the borough. I don't know if you've been downtown recently, but the courthouse is already lit up in purple for Suicide Awareness Month. The commissioners have said they're going to keep it lit in purple for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So I thought that just the High Street between Allegheny and Spring would be a good place to start to concentrate our efforts on, or the gazebo in Talleyrand Park, because a lot of people I have seen walking around. I don't know how many people walk around at night time down there, but it's a pretty safe place for people to walk through. And we would put signs outside, really emphasizing that Center County, we're together in this to work towards ending domestic violence. This is a really very dangerous time for people who are experiencing domestic violence, because they're often with their abuser and the stress levels and everything else. So they can't really, it's not safe for them to call the police or even Center Safe. They have to find a safer way to pick up information about services that might be available to them.
So,
Joanne,
yes.
can I make a motion that can we make a motion to move forward with this?
That was where I was headed.
Okay.
Of course you would.
Your letter had requested the street lamps. Is that okay?
That's fine. I mean, whatever you think will work the best. I went downtown and I saw that the street lamps, the light poles have outlets in them. So that might be an easy way to do it, as opposed to. It
would be easier because from the gazebo, you would have to do a long string and it would only be limited to the gazebo because we don't put lights anywhere else in the park.
Oh, okay.
So we need a motion to allow Center Safe to string the purple lights on the lamps post on West High Street between Spring and Allegheny Street to honor the victims of domestic violence throughout the month of October, with the public work staff and some volunteers to string the lights after Center Safe purchases the light string. And as a follow-up to that, doesn't need to be part of the motion, suggests that they contact Downtown Bellefonte to help distribute to the suggested.
Thanks, Joan. Yeah, I was gonna tell Dawn that she should, that we could coordinate, and I would be in touch with her. And Dawn, you should reach out. Downtown Bellefonte Inc. can help you coordinate and facilitate with the business owners. So I'll make sure I get your email and reach out to you.
Okay, do we have a motion to make this happen before
Are you making that
Nina goes
motion?
off and does that?
John, I can't make the motion. You need to make that motion.
I will make that motion.
I will second it.
Eaton and Walker.
Now, Gene.
For me, Ann.
What?
I was just clarifying, Joanne.
So what I was saying is because we don't have control over downtown Bellefonte, that was a suggestion outside the motion.
Right.
That's all.
I will reach out to you, Dawn.
Okay. And if you contact Ralph, he can give you my email. We
Okay.
can stay in the loop altogether.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Any discussion on this motion?
Great idea.
Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passed.
Right.
Passed
Thank you all.
unanimously.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for bringing this to
Thanks.
us.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave the meeting now. Have a good evening. All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Ralph, continue, please.
Sure. There's a letter from the group that's doing the historic street tablets and asking if the borough is interested in having any of its buildings done, particularly the train station. I just suggest it's there for your review. There's also a memo in the packet regarding our flu clinic that we have for the borough staff and so on. It is usually held here in borough chambers. The provider is still interested in doing that, looking at September and October. Again, looking for permission if you so choose to do
I'll
so.
make that motion.
Second.
So that's Eaton and Thompson. So for the secretary's purpose, just to be clear, it's a motion to grant permission to set up a flu shot clinic in September and October at the borough. The borough would pay for the employees, all spouses, friends, et cetera, would be responsible for paying for their own vaccine and then submitting the fee to their own insurance.
Yes.
Okay. Eaton and Thompson. Discussion?
John, you're a motion machine tonight.
Well, it'll be the last time Kathy Stanton ever sends that memo out. So every year we get the same memo from Kathy, and so I made it happen for her this year.
Good man.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, that also passes unanimously.
Next item is a YMCA would like to hold the second annual Trick or Trot 5K race. It would start in the new area of Talleyrand Park and go out Axeman Road. I'm looking, I must not have written down the date.
It's October, I think it's October 31st.
Yeah. Right, which is a Saturday, yes. So anyway, really the involvement is Talleyrand Park. They have a staggered start with some of the groups, and certainly I believe they're intending to be have masks. It's all described in the information that we received about the mask being social distancing.
I'd like to refer this to the Parks and Rec Committee for review and let the YMCA know that they'll also need to go through Spring Township for approval as well.
Sure. Okay, so it's going to Parks and Recs.
Mhm.
Next item is an email from Mr. Robert Lamb with the Rotary Group organization. They're planning, with all the COVID issues, they're not doing the fall festival that they normally do. They're planning to do a drive-up trick or treat program, which they would like to hold at Talleyrand Park near the gazebo side, 10 a.m. to noon, Saturday, October 31st. They would also, because it's a drive-up type of thing, bag the meters along that portion of West High Street on both sides.
So we need a motion to bag all parking meters on West High Street from Spring Street to Allegheny Street on Saturday, October 31st from 10 a.m. to noon.
The actual program, I believe, is 6 a.m. to 1, but the pickup is 10 a.m. to noon.
Okay, 6 a.m. to 1.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion, Brackville.
I'll second it, Prendergast.
Rockville, Prendergast. Discussion?
Just for clarification, is this between Spring Street and Water Street, or is it down near Talleyrand Park?
Spring Street and Allegheny Street.
Well, I believed it to be in front of Talleyrand Park. That's my understanding, because I think they kind of want to work in that area. I can clarify that, but I thought that was the area they were looking at.
Yeah, I read it as Allegheny and Spring. You did it. So I think just wherever it is that we need to get that clarified.
Okay.
If it's the gazebo, then it's the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ralph's right on that.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
Wherever it is, the motion is to approve it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That also passes.
I want to know who's going to be out there at 6 in the morning.
Not me.
Next item is an item to be considered. It's from the Pennsylvania Municipal League. Specifically, as you know, with the unemployment affecting municipalities and this issue called the solvency fee, the legislators, or one of them, have proposed House Bill 2708, which would allow municipalities to pay this annual solvency fee in a window, 30-day window coming up, which would lower our costs for some of the unemployment that we incurred during the COVID months here, a couple months ago. So they're looking for support letters from municipalities that would go to our legislators regarding this topic.
So need a motion to send letters to Senator Corman and Representative Benninghoff in favor of HB 2708 and the associated Senate bill, which we don't have a number yet for.
Right.
Declare COVID-19 a quote, good cause reason for late payment of the solvency fees to the Pennsylvania Department of Labor and Industry.
Eaton, I will make that motion.
I'll second, Brackville.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Another unanimous.
Thank you. Next item is from the Bellefonte Soccer Association. They would like to use Governor's Park for practices, really starting now through the end of October, and practices during the week and evenings, Monday through Thursday, and Saturday mornings. So I think about 1 or so for games. And they have a very lengthy safety program that they're required to follow. It's there as well.
This usually would be going to Parks and Rec to review and have a meeting with them because of the COVID-19 issues, but because this is immediately, I would like to see a motion to conditionally approve the Bellefonte Soccer Association use of the soccer fields. They asked for all of them at Governor's Park Mondays to Thursdays from 5:30 to 8:30 and Saturdays from 10 to 1 between now and October 31st. To follow what I believe is their excellent outline of COVID-19 mitigation with the following additions requested by the state. 1, limit the number of total people at each soccer field to 90 people, coaches, players, and spectators, with a maximum of 2 spectators for each player. Maintaining a minimum of 15 minutes between each practice or game to allow prior game members to leave and new members to arrive and sanitize. Disinfect every ball between each game. Disinfect the benches and chairs every 4 hours. The borough will retain the right to revoke permission should these guidelines not be followed, and add the borough to the liability insurance for the duration of the games, and present an updated certificate showing this coverage. The certificate they gave us did not have a show the Bellefonte as an addition.
I will make that motion if I don't have to repeat it.
That's fine.
I will second it under the same conditions.
Was that Walker?
Yes, Ann Walker.
Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Great.
Next item is, I'm sorry.
Go
Ready?
ahead.
Okay. Next item is an invitation to participate in Center County's hazard mitigation planning process, where they look at the plan that's in place and update it. Those, the particular meetings that this would take place, there's two meetings. They're both on Thursday, September 24th. There's an afternoon session that would be 2 to 3 p.m. and an evening session that would be 7 to 8 p.m. And once you register, according to the letter, they'll send you the link. It'll be a virtual meeting. If you would like us to do anything on your behalf, please let me know, but you're welcome to RSVP as well. Good.
Any questions? Okay, next.
Next item is some suggestions from Barbara Dan. I don't know if she's still on with
Yes,
us.
she is.
Okay. There's some suggestions for website improvements and communication methods between borough officials, council members, and Bellefonte citizens. I see Barbara. I don't know if she wants to add anything to that, but she did submit something in writing for council to consider.
Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for allowing me to speak on this. As I've been looking into the ordinance and everything, what I realized is I don't know anything about people on council. And what I found out is most other people did not either. And we also didn't know how to contact, what to do with the meetings. There were just a lot of questions and a lot of confusion. Some of it was on the website, some of it was not. I know, Ralph, right after we talked, you put in all the information about different ways to contact council, which was very, very helpful. So I thought in the spirit of being open, and so we all know each other a little better, I would love to see bios on everybody, not only professional, but somewhat personal, so we know who you are. Some maybe to put something as to why you ran for council, what you think's important, some of your feelings. I think those things would go a long way in making people feel a little more connected to the council. And I think that would open up some ways that we could all work together as citizens and you as members of the council. I also think that when you're making, when you're putting things out there for people to see, that I know that with the ordinances, you are posting those on the Lock Haven Express. I know a lot of us don't see that, and unless you go to the website, we don't get that information. So my other suggestion is to start an email list that people sign up for. So maybe once a week, they're sent the links of here's what's going on kind of thing. A lot of businesses do that. I'm a small business. I do that almost every week just to keep people updated. And I think it's a good way to open those lines of communication.
Couldn't agree more.
After Ralph, for the rest, Ralph and I met with Barbara about a week ago. More or less.
Yeah, more or less. I think it was actually.
Yeah.
And we had a very long conversation about her ideas here. And I asked her to put it into writing and send it to Ralph so the entire council could see it. And from that meeting and from her letter, what I came up with was 4 different issues that could be, I think 3 of them could be done as a motion. The 4th one, I think, can only be done as a request. So the one would be to ask the borough to add bios of council members, the mayor, the solicitor, and borough managers to the website. I don't know if that's going to cost us extra. We'd have to find out. That might have to be an extra page. The second one would be to create a community email list for communications between the borough and the community that the borough managers can use to push out information such as links to the website for information on council meetings, CNET ordinances. And then this would be in addition to the robocall list that we currently already use. And then offer a sign-up page on the bellefonte.net webpage for individuals to add themselves to this email list. Those are the 3 things I think we can put into a motion. The 4th request you had, I don't think we can do it because it's a request of the individual council members for them to create public Bellefonte Borough council member pages on Facebook. Some of the council members are not on Facebook.
Well, I understand that, and it's part of the communication thing, and we had talked about that a little bit too, and I know not everybody's a fan of it. Gina has a professional page. Joanne, you do. It's just I think you're going to reach different people by doing that, and it's not something that has to take a long time. But to put things out there, I mean, you both did put out there about the ordinance and things, and I think that's very important. And I think we sometimes have to meet people where they are instead of saying they have to check their email or they have to go to the website.
Yeah, I agree with you perfectly.
To do that, I think anything we can do to open up the lines of communication and get us all working together, I think does nothing but benefit both Bellefonte as a whole and particularly downtown Bellefonte, which is part of what I really want to do.
May I say something, Joanne?
Huh? Go
May
ahead.
I say something, Joanne? Okay,
Yeah.
as far as personal bios, personal information, I have a serious problem with that as far as my personal safety. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay, I wasn't asking for anything really personal. I mean, you know, who I live with and where I live. I mean, just some general things. And so we can get to know you all a little bit better. That's all.
I think she's talking how our views are shaped and that kind of stuff.
Right, and I think that part of that is, you know, who you are, where you work, what you do, just some really, really basic information would be
I don't
nice.
think telling, in Anne's specific case, she should not share her employer. I don't think, like the things that,
That's okay.
I don't disagree that it's a bad idea to have some information like what our plans are, but any personal biography information is not appropriate in this day and age.
Okay, I was just asking for simple things. That's all. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't. I'm sure some of you would be interested. I know Gina shares hers on her Facebook page, and that gives me a good look at who she is. She's a mom, she's married, she likes to do these things. That's very helpful, and that makes me feel a connection. If you don't want to do it, I would say don't do it. I mean, but I think professional bios are completely different, and I think that people do want to know professionally what you do.
So is there some kind of motion to help Barbara meet her goal of having better communications between
I think that one thing we need to look at, and I think that some of these are very good points. As we're going into budget season, we should get quotes on these things, because as someone who does this as their job, getting a mailing list with potentially thousands of people is not cheap. It's expensive. having some of these updates to our website are not going to be inexpensive. So that's my own, I think we should move forward on some of these things, but I think we'll need to look at the budget first.
Okay, so can you make some kind of motion to that effect? Melissa?
Doug, did you want to say, do you want me to make a motion first so we can discuss it?
That's fine with me. Yes, please.
Yes, please do.
I would like to move forward with getting a quote on how to, a price quote on updating our website with some broad information on council members and a quote on email client to send out email updates to residents.
I'll second that.
Homboski and Prendergast. Discussion?
This is just to get a price quote. Is that correct?
It would be to get a price quote and then look at it and possibly putting it into the budget so that we could do what she's requesting because it's going to cost the borough.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes, Doug, go ahead.
I would just like to say that before this COVID, our borough council meetings are open to the public. Our agendas are on the website before each meeting. And since I've been on council close to 6 years now, there have been very few residents that attend our borough council meetings. And it's wonderful to see the response when we have issues, critical issues that have come up in regard to this ordinance. But I'd like to remind Ms. Dan that we're always open. Our names, our addresses, our phone numbers are on the website. We're always available to talk with people. And I'd love to see more of our citizens attend when we get back to some normalcy. These are council meetings. Those are the best places to learn about what's going on in the borough. But for some reason, we don't get many attendees at those meetings. So I appreciate all your suggestions. I'm not a Facebook person. It's something I don't need, but I'm happy to share a bio on the website.
Other comments? Gina? And then John.
Last year, we had talked about communication and better communication from the borough to the public. So I definitely think that this ordinance has brought to light that this is an issue, and I think that we should continue to discuss how we can better communicate to our constituents, whether that, I know last year what we had discussed, we had a quote for social media coverage, and I was in favor of that, but that didn't go through because of the budget. And I do think that while there are many council members that aren't big social media users, I totally get that. That is always a good method to get information out to people. But I like the idea of a listserv, although it may be cost prohibitive, I don't know, but listservs are also nice ways to get information out to people because they have the option of signing up for it. So I'm happy to discuss how we as a council and as a borough can better communicate to the public. But I also agree with Doug, want to reiterate that the meetings, they're public, even here they're public, even on Zoom, and you're welcome, anyone is welcome to attend. So that's all.
Other comments? John?
Yeah, I guess I want to sort of echo Melissa's caution on in this day and age. I'm very circumspect on what goes out relative to either my private bio or my professional bio, especially on some forum like Facebook. So I'm I'm serving, sort of putting out that I will be resistant to go to that level, and I'm just of that mindset.
I agree with you, which rarely ever happens.
I know, I was completely surprised.
I am shocked.
You're usually throwing spitballs across, well.
I feel like, just to say one more thing, that I know that things have gotten way out of hand with this ordinance on Facebook. I know that people are searching for me on Facebook. I do not feel comfortable with that. I don't feel comfortable with people. I am one person who is like deathly afraid of getting murdered in council chambers. I don't appreciate the way that this has spiraled out of control. For me personally, to put more information about my personal life on this in the day and age that we're living in, that part I don't feel comfortable with.
Yeah,
Agreed.
100% agreement.
But and at the same time, there's so much misinformation, even about this ordinance, that goes.
100% agree with you.
Yeah. For those that aren't aware, when I came on council, I created to keep people off of my personal Facebook page, which I don't want. My personal Facebook profile, created a council page, and that is used very professionally to just disseminate information that from council meetings. So I obviously had posted, if you have input about the ordinance, so for those of you that may be curious, that's what I have created. And I think Joanne has the same kind of basic form. I don't put personal information on there. I don't put anything that I don't feel comfortable putting up there. But I think that if the council had an official, I know that we have a Facebook page, but I feel like if we had some sort of more of a social media presence, then it wouldn't be so much on council members to be disseminating information. It would already be given out by the official council borough Facebook page or the Instagram account or whatever it may be. I agree, Melissa. It's terrifying to think that people are searching your name and wanting to find out information and find ways to potentially attack you, your credibility.
I didn't realize that until this week. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
For the troglodytes in the room, having the borough set up a Facebook thing would be all right, but I wouldn't know how, and B, I have no interest. But I would contribute to that.
Well, the borough has a Facebook page. It's just
but somebody has to manage it.
Yeah, right. That is the
crux of the problem.
And what do we pay to have that done? Yeah. Anyway, that's all.
At the expense of making, excuse me, just one quick thing, at the expense of making this meeting even longer, I would like to point out, and I agree, I understand what Barb is asking for. I agree with everybody who has their opinion on how much information they want to put it out, how pertinent it is. I do want to remind everybody, when you signed up to be on council, you became a public figure. That's all. You can't hide in the basement if you're a public figure. So you should try to get out there and at least put something out. You don't have to put any real personal information, but let people know who you are, engaged and so on. I agree with Doug. We have a lot of stuff that's already on there. I have my cell number on my business card. Anybody can call me at any time.
So let me ask, before we have a vote on this motion.
Randy has a question.
Okay.
So the same thing everybody's saying about Facebook, I agree with. It's an uncontrollable venue once you get on there. And I've also, if you're going to put your own Facebook page out there, whatever that is, and you have a personal one, and you're going to put something out for the borough, it's still a possibility where somebody could get hold of your information and still dig either from the borough side or from your personal side and get information about you. So that's the problem I have with Facebook. I have it, but I don't do a lot with it. So, but I'm like everybody else that spoke earlier. My name's on the on the borough website. My phone number there, my email's there, and I'm easy to get in touch with. I use respond as quickly as I can. I wouldn't be opposed, though, to having ward meetings every now and then, if we wanted to have face-to-face meetings. And whether that's residents of the Bellefonte in the ward or business leaders.
So that's, I was hearing what Councilman, which is why I said at the beginning that I didn't want to include the Facebook in the motion. And Melissa made a motion. I want to clarify what this motion is. Would this include going back to what Gina mentioned a year ago and look at seeing, including the cost for doing some more social media from the borough's perspective?
That is not something that I initially included, although it could be. I don't know. I mean, that's not what I just went by what the request from a citizen was.
Okay.
Although that is something that we can look at during budget season again.
Yeah, okay. So the motion on the floor is to have Ralph create check-in quotes for doing email updates to the website, and for, I think we need is extra cost for adding bios to the website.
Great.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay. Hopefully that'll help,
If you would
Barbara.
Ralph, if you would like any help in what to ask for those quotes, I can help with that.
Thank you. I'll be in touch. Next item.
Thank you, Barbara, for your comments, concerns. I thought when we met that you had some great ideas, and I think this will help us moving forward.
Thanks for your consideration on that. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Moving on, the next item is from a resident, Miss Pat Kennedy, in regard to some conditions or activities that aren't very good in Krause Park. Some trash that seems to be accumulating, kids hanging out, possibly damaging some of the vegetation. And the end of the result or the request is maybe consider closing the park at dusk. It's there for your review.
I'd like to refer this to Parks and Rec for review and recommendations.
Question,
Yes?
doesn't the parks close at dusk?
No.
regard-
No,
None of
no. We changed that to 24/7.
others too, stays open?
Yep. The only one that closes is Governor's Park at 11 p.m.
The difference,
By the way, I sent that email to Sean as well, and we'll talk to the officers about maybe patrolling that or being more attentive to Krause Park in the near future.
yeah, Kraus is the only one that doesn't have lights.
Yeah.
Right.
This was brought up a couple weeks ago, and I had the night shift super Sergeant Brower. I told him about it. He's been doing spot checks over there. He has not seen any trash, or I just asked him again tonight if they had any incidents over there reported in the last month or so, or a couple of weeks, and he said they haven't. So
Probably about 4 weeks or so ago, I had the Public Works, Matt Allman, have some of the crew go over and pick up the trash. So that was approximately, again, about 4 weeks ago.
So there is some issue. Just maybe with the Parks and Rec meets, we could have one of the police officers meet with the Parks and Rec to see what their recommendations would be as well.
fine.
Okay. Next.
Next item is a letter from Miss Margaret Cook in regard to the parking meter situation on 130 East High Street. I believe she's, yes, she's here. You have to unmute yourself, I believe. I don't know if she wants to add anything to the concerns. She's a new resident. Hello, Margaret.
Hi.
Hi. Obviously I included your letter and information in the packet. If you want to say anything while we have you here, you're welcome to.
Okay, thank you, Ralph. I live at 130 East High Street next to the courthouse, and recently the meters on the residence side of the street were changed to 2-hour limits. And most of the people who live here are residents on the side. There's not a lot of businesses besides the courthouse, obviously, and the Domino's Pizza down the road. And a lot of the people who live here are apartment dwellers, and to have that 2-hour limit is really prohibitive for them to have to feed a meter every 2 hours. It's costly, it's difficult. And although there is courthouse side parking, that goes up pretty quickly. That's, I guess, meant for the courthouse attendees. And there's a lot of these apartment dwellers don't have options to park in the back alley. I'm not an apartment dweller. I actually own this house, but I do have a renter who will find this difficult, the parking situation out here. And so because this isn't really part of the business district, I am wondering if the council would consider allowing residents in situations like this where there is no rear parking and there's only street parking available to get a monthly resident permit to not just park in the lots. The lots are far away. The lots, you know, are up downhill, but uphill coming back. Dangerous, safety concerns, difficulties, you know, getting there and back. If you need to leave your car, you know, like if you're going out of town, if you're hospitalized, you know, you're going to get ticketed every couple hours if you're not feeding that meter. So I think a really good solution for residents along the street without other options would be a monthly parking permit that isn't the lot, like, you know, street parking permit.
Yeah. We're actually in the process of reviewing our meter ordinance.
Okay.
So this is a very timely question.
Yes.
And this particular issue hasn't come up, but I think we can incorporate it in what we're reviewing because we're looking at the long-term parking issue. So I would like to refer this particular item related to the parking meters back to the Streets Committee since they're working on the meter ordinance at this time. And when we do it, we could invite Ms. Cook to participate to give us some residential input as well.
Sure.
That would be great.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that.
You're welcome.
All righty.
Thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Take care. We'll be in touch.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item.
Yep.
Let's see, the Center County Democratic Committee wants to do a postcard writing session out at Governor's Park, September 12th, 12 to 2, using 2 pavilions. And they have presented a safety plan, I guess, for council's approval.
Do we have a motion to allow the Center County Democratic Committee to do their COVID safety plan at the 2 pavilions?
In the postcard writing.
Correct.
Plan.
Yes. Prendergast,
I'll second that, Habaski.
Hamboski, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Great, thank you.
One
Okay.
thing before we move on, Monica asked in the chat, can we, if we're looking at the ordinance for meters, can we have maybe a public, not meeting, but like a public Zoom so we can gather information from the business owners in our downtown as well as residents and maybe have a forum, something like this?
That might be helpful. I think that's a good idea.
I think since the committee meetings are pretty much Zoom meetings anyway, it would be very easy to send that link to Margaret Cook and Montega Concord so that they could participate, or anybody else in the community who wanted to.
But you just don't want to get too many people. It gets cumbersome.
No, I understand that, but we've extended invitations at previous committee meetings. We've gotten input from residents about specific issues, and we've extended invitations, and they've not attended. So it's hard to tell.
Does that work for you, Montega?
I would only, it could be if Montega's willing, it'd be nice if maybe there wasn't a whole bunch of business owners at your meeting. If it was like maybe business owners could relay concerns to Montega and she could bring them, or, I mean, it's up to you guys. I'm just kind of trying to feel out.
That's a great idea.
Montega says she can do that.
Yeah, because I know that there are business owners' concerns, as Montega's saying. So it's not, yeah. Okay, cool.
Great, thank you.
Ralph, add Montega to the
Sure.
Streets Committee meeting. Thank you. Okay. Next, do we have any other written communication that none of us know about?
No, not on my end.
Okay. Public comments on issues that aren't before council. I have one, and it was a text message I got this afternoon, and it's mostly for Chief of Police. There was a Biden-Harris banner that was installed yesterday at the Loggy Building on Water Street. It was stolen less than 24 hours. It cost Nancy Perkins $43, and she asked us to notify the police of this fact.
What was stolen?
Yes.
A 3 by 5 foot political
you.
sign.
Yep, I heard you. I was here.
Okay.
I couldn't get to my button quick enough.
So I'm just relaying her request.
I have something as well. On Blanchard Street, there is a couple of political banners that are hanging from utility poles, and I don't believe that that's legal, but I'm not sure because they belong to PennDOT. I'm not so sure that. Okay, so maybe somebody could look into that.
What block? What block?
Right before, as you're coming into Bellefonte, right before the stop sign to
On the
turn.
right or left?
On the right side.
Okay. That might be. There's the second house up is a line, so I'll have to check into.
Yeah, it's definitely within the. It's definitely. I think it's in the borough. But yeah, I just noticed that it's on the utility pole. So.
Noted.
Anything else? Okay, moving on then to special committee reports.
You want me to go through them? Sorry, there's just some Center Region code statistics that we received, so they're there for your review.
Any questions from anyone?
I did attend that meeting this afternoon.
Anything you want to report back?
Pardon?
Is there anything you want to report back, Randy?
No, not really. A lot of it was on their end of it. You know, we're basically involved with the code part, so anything that involved money, I just abstained. So you know, they did talk about the vehicles that Bellefonte's purchasing for the fire police, and I did ask about the window of how long that process is going to take, because the fire exec committee still needs to make their approval to council to purchase those, because it's going to create a change in the budget. And so far, I know that Chief Laura sent out a note as far as the meeting, but there was no date yet. So I just wanted to make sure that things weren't moving faster than we are reacting to get things approved appropriately.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to the mayor's report. Tom?
You
Okay, thank you. On my agenda here, it says that I'm supposed to give a report on the determination regarding vandalism on the courthouse property. I did follow up with the county and I explained to them that council did not move on that, and they said, all right. Well, I mean, we had a motion on the table, we couldn't get a second, so I said the council was unable to make a decision on that. The only other thing I have to report is I represented Bellefonte today at the 100th anniversary of the commemorating Bellefonte as the first stop in the airmail system that was one of the things that made Bellefonte famous, put them on the map early on and back in the airmail days. And there was a fly-in from the only remaining airmail craft in existence, which is a biplane, which is very cool. Came in, we loaded, Senator Corner and I loaded airmail that will go to California onto the plane. And that was basically it. We had a couple of speeches, but very nice event attended by about 35 people at the Bellefonte Airport.
Nice.
That's my report. Any questions?
Did you get any pictures?
I did not, but there's tons of pictures. Ken Martin was there from American Philatelic, and I forget his name, fellow from the Visitors Center was there. So if you check out also Bellefonte Airport's website, and I think it's bellefonteairport.com, they'll have pictures of all that.
I believe Happy Valley Adventure Bureau is going to be posting or has posted information on that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the sources.
Did the plane come early? I'm just curious.
It came, well, I got a notification this morning that it might come in about 8:45 or 9 o'clock, somewhere around there.
Right.
Yeah, the biplane came in just about 10 minutes till 9, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Office of Community Affairs.
Just a quick note, we did not have any planning meetings since the last council meeting. So there's no updates there. The HARB, there are 2 certificates of appropriateness being recommended for approval. The first one is for signage at 120 South Water Street. And the second one is for signage at 374 Phoenix Avenue.
Need a motion to grant certificates of approval for both signs.
I'll make that motion.
Deb?
Yep.
Clayton? Who's seconding it?
Eaton.
Eaton. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Opposed? Thanks. And the meetings are in the packet. Are there any questions on the HARB meeting minutes?
Minutes.
Okay. Moving on then, building and property, and,
I do not have anything.
okay. Anyone else have anything for building and property? Ralph, how about the kiosks?
The kiosks are all ready to go. There was, they're in place, they're hooked up, they're ready to go. Now our meter enforcement officer had a loss in his family, so he's going to be out for a few days. But other than that, the equipment and everything's in place and ready to go.
So are we starting back with paid metering tomorrow?
It was actually today's the official start, but we're going to be a little behind the 8 ball. We only have one official parking person. I'm sure the police will do what they can to back them up, but we're going to be a little slow getting started because of this loss in this person's family.
I'm sure the residents will be terribly.
Yeah.
Ralph,
yes.
And will we keep in effect the free parking for food pickup?
Yeah,
Anyhow.
the last meeting, we I think council approved us doing that, so that's our intentions. Keep those pickup spaces available just as they are, monitor just for the, so they're not abused, kept about 15 minutes or so.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions on building and property?
I think Sean has a question.
Yeah, Sean.
Regarding the meters, I've been noticing the street sweeper has been out. Daryl's been out with the street sweeper early in the morning. I suggest we start issuing some paper in form of warnings or tickets to get people conditioned for winter time for street plowing. So it doesn't.
The alternate parking.
Yeah, alternate side parking.
We actually have that suspended, but as Chief Weaver's saying, it's going to be an issue in a couple months. And really before that, when we get into leaf collection, we will not be able to get near the curb to clean the leaves if we do not have the alternate street parking in place. But just so we're all on the same page, we did suspend that a few months ago because a lot of people working from home.
So do we need a motion to reinstate the alternate side parking?
I believe so.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion, Brackville.
I'll second it. Prendergast.
Brackville and Prendergast.
So what we'll do is we'll take the bags off the signs that were covered up. And as Chief Weaver said, we can start for a week or two with warnings and, get people back in the groove of the system.
We can advertise it on the department's Facebook page and with the borough website as well.
Thank you.
Ralph, how high up High Street does that go?
Goes up the whole way up to
Ridge?
10 or further up.
Maybe the ridge. I would have to check, John.
Okay. You may have that. You may need to have that discussion with our public member who joined us earlier.
Right.
Any further discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Moving on, Gina, finance and government performance.
We need to talk budget. So we'll have to get a meeting scheduled soon.
So can you send out a doodle, Ralph?
Sure.
Should have done it this week. I'm on quarantine for a week.
Well, we will be meeting virtually anyway.
Just saying, I have a lot of free time this week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anything else for finance? Gina, anything else for finance?
No, just needing to start budget talks. That's been on the radar. So.
Okay. Then Parks and Rec, Melissa?
Can I share my screen, Ralph?
Let me see. I think you can. I don't know if I'm preventing multiple. Let me just see here. I think you can, Melissa. Wait. Yeah.
Here she goes.
Yes.
Is it sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
That's looking really good.
Wow, this is the brick platform. This is from this weekend. If anything's moved forward since then, I haven't seen it. And then that's a close-up of the bridge.
I'm liking it.
That's great.
Yeah.
It looks pretty nice.
Yes.
Yep.
Looks
Good.
beautiful. So that brings up the payment application number 3 for the Talleyrand Park pedestrian bridge. Is it the $67,000 number?
Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion to pay the third payment of $67,718.94.
I'll second that.
Bosky and
Make a
Prendergast.
motion for it.
Discussion?
Everything's within budget and on schedule. Sounds like it.
Yep.
Well,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Anything else, Melissa?
I have nothing further.
The only thing I have is do a doodle for Parks and Rec as well.
Okay. What would be the topic or?
The
Soccer?
crosswalk
Okay. all
and
right.
the soccer from the written communications earlier this evening.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Moving on, human resources, John?
okay, in our council packet, we've received notice of, it's a stress determination on our pension plan. And we're actually in exceptionally good shape. We're actually
Perfect.
well, yes, a little bit good. So considering everything, it's great news. The other item is we filled 3 positions. We will be welcoming Alyssa Dougherty to replace Kathy Stanton, who has announced that she will be retiring.
She retired
And-
last Friday.
Oh, okay. So she already, I thought she was going to hang around a while and help train Alyssa.
She's going to come back for that, but she's actually, her official retirement day was on Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So tell her, thank you for hanging around there, or actually coming in extra.
And what is this new person's name?
Alyssa Dougherty.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Yes. She's joining us. She previously had worked as the township secretary down in Liberty Township. That's down below Sayers Dam. So she interviewed very nicely, so we're excited about that. And then we've hired Eric Haupt, our parking officer, enforcement officer, is also retiring. And we will be replacing that full-time position with 2 part-time positions that will also handle duties as animal enforcement. And so the new hires are Lucas Shearer and Gabrielle Winger. And they look like excellent hires. Gabrielle has a animal animal handling background.
Has a bachelor's degree in animal science.
Yes. And also she's an EMS member at Pleasant Gap. And Lucas is a student at Lock Haven State pursuing a criminal justice degree. So seems like excellent hire. So it was a good week. So, and I think it's about it.
Any questions for John?
Good work, John.
It wasn't me, it was Ralph and the people on the HR committee. So.
Good work, Ralph. Committee.
It's a team effort.
Moving on then to safety, Randy.
Yeah, I have a note here about considering legal advice for the ordinance we're working on for fireworks. We had concerns about in our historic district in the downtown that fireworks are being set off in that location, which is not a good place for fireworks. So the question came up of whether if we could ban the fireworks within the historic district downtown and require a permit for consumer fireworks and display fireworks elsewhere in the borough. So I don't know if we need approval for that to go out, Ralph. I need to make a motion for that.
Yeah, you need to make a
Yeah, we're
motion.
looking for a motion because it, involves an expense.
Okay, then I will make the motion that we request the cost of, from legal counsel advice for the ordinance, to review the ordinance for banning fireworks in the historic district and requiring a permit using consumer fireworks and display fireworks elsewhere in the borough.
I'll second it. I live in the historic district. I don't want to burn.
Any discussion?
Yes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is this proposal limited to the historic district and not the borough as a whole? There are residents in other parts of town who are just as concerned about their property and the noise and everything else that goes along with fireworks.
We received a legal opinion saying an outright complete ban probably was not legal. So, the question came up in the committee was, could we just look at the historic district? So that's kind of what the committee wanted to take a look at.
Yeah, I understand that, but there are a lot of other people in the community too.
We understand that too. It's just, they don't
And there
want
would
us
require,
totally.
people in those areas would have to get a permit in order, it's not like a carte blanche, anybody can set off fireworks.
Right. And then the
Well,
only
they're
other,
kind of just doing it willy-nilly now anyway. I understand about the concern with the age of the buildings downtown, but if somebody's going to just set off fireworks, they're going to do it one way or another, wherever they can find the space, whether they have a permit or not.
What we need is somebody to be able to get the police to that area while they're doing it so they can actually witness it.
Which is
the hard
just
part.
about impossible.
Right.
depends how big.
Forcing it.
It's not impossible because I've been to 4 locations. It is difficult.
So do we have any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Continue, Randy.
Okay, the next thing, there was a memo, I think, in the packet, from Walt Schneider about a grant that the fire department was awarded. It's a fireman's assistant grant. It's for, I don't have it in front of me. It's like $435,000 and some odd dollars for the air packs replacement. And so there's a $20,000 match on that. And that money is within the fire budget. So I would, yes, I'd make a motion to, do we need to make a motion or do we need to wait for the exec committee to make that recommendation?
Probably the exec committee, Randy. I think it's really, we also should read over the grant agreement.
Right, yeah.
Understand, what we're committing to, but I would just say it's a notice, and certainly very positive notice at this point. But I don't think there's any official action you need to do tonight.
I'm going to mention this on Walt's account, that this, for his term as chief, he has brought in over $1 million in grants.
Yes.
The Bellefonte Fire Department.
That's excellent work.
Be a good grant writer.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah, I was impressed.
Then let's see. The last thing is the follow up on the EMS municipal meeting. I know Joanne and I were there. I can't remember who else was there. But it was a usual annual meeting. It was a little less in length of time, which was good. But you're still looking for the 2/5 for next year. And I think most of our comments from Bellefonte were the same thing. We're going to have to go back and really look at our budgets and see what's doable and what's not at this point as we go through the budget process. And that's all I have.
Okay. Any questions for safety? Seeing
Is
none? Go ahead.
one
John.
for Randy. Is Scott having any better, or is Chief Road having any more success with our surrounding communities chipping
I
in?
would say it's not better, but I don't think it's
Not any worse.
Hasn't changed.
yeah, he's still trying to get
Okay.
the people that are involved may not be paying what he's requesting. So he continues to work on that to try to improve that. And I really think there's only maybe one community that just isn't
Right.
interested.
And one of the communities last
Okay.
year that said they weren't going to do it actually did pony up
Yeah.
this year. So in that sense, it was better.
Good.
Anything else? Then moving on to water and sanitation, Doug?
Just the authority minutes are in your packet. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer them. And the other one is the daily water withdrawal report. So, any questions on that?
Didn't seem like much fluctuation this month or last month.
Until they got to the 26th, then things got really good.
They
No,
did.
whatever they did on the 26th, tell them to do it again.
We did find a large leak. Where was that at, Ralph?
There's actually two, one on the Corning side and one down on Zion Road.
Right.
In that area.
Yeah,
So
that one down on Zion Road, that was, yeah, that put you in better shape. That brought you down to numbers you haven't seen in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Any further questions? Seeing none, Streets Committee, Deb?
Okay, last Wednesday, the Streets Committee met wild-free and appropriately masked at the intersection of North Monroe and East Lynn Streets. A resident had expressed some concerns about traffic at that particular intersection. So we met to take just a look at the layout, where the stop signs are, the speed of the traffic, and the resident, Mr. Morelli, joined us for a few minutes to just talk about what's going on in the neighborhood. They're concerned about traffic speeding through a neighborhood that does have a lot of children. And it was recommended that we approach Chief Weaver, which I did this morning, to maybe increase police presence, at least temporarily in the area, just to, be there and let people know that there's an eye on them, and also to add this intersection to the list of items that we're going to meet with LTAP about, so that they can give us their 2 cents worth. The next thing is the LTAP information about the signage on Pine Street. We had discussed changing the signs there from Watch Children to something along the lines of drive as if you live here, but the only approved signage is the existing Watch Children signs. So we can't really change that.
Your PennDOT's a little stiff on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what we have to stick with. And we are in the process of setting up a meeting with LTAP to discuss what is beginning to be a list of intersections and crosswalk concerns in the borough.
Do we know, Ralph, when that meeting is likely to be?
We don't have an exact date. I'm gonna say sometime this month, ideally.
And that's all I have.
Any questions?
I have 2 questions. The first is, did we hear anything back from Spring Township as far as the signage coming in 144 up Pine Street?
No, that's actually listed under old business, but we have not. Spring only meets once a month. It's likely they haven't considered this, or may be considering this evening, but I have not heard anything.
Okay, then I noticed on Badger Street, some people out there looking around at where some repairs have been made. There was some gas work done about 2 years ago, and then there was a water break in that area last year. Well, I guess another 2 years ago. It was all kind of there together. So was there another issue with a certain, some kind of leak, or is that area going to get paved?
I don't have an answer, Randy. I can find out and get back to you.
It's just a question, so it came up.
You said Badger, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it.
I have a question, Joanne.
Yeah, go ahead.
Two of them, actually. I think at the last meeting, we talked about the street repair by the big spring. Was that this meeting? Or was that another meeting? Was that MP? I can't.
It's possible. It's possible.
Another meeting.
I think we brought it up for some reason at the authority meeting.
Okay.
Possibly, Doug. I'm not sure.
Okay. I was mistakenly thinking we talked about it at council. Anyhow, recently the repair contractor repaired the road by the big spring. There was quite a divot in the road from a water leak last year. And it appears as though they sort of made the road not as good as it was before. Can we check into that, Ralph?
We are. That repair has to be approved by PennDOT, and likely it will not be. As Matt indicated, Matt Allman, our Public Works Director, that is waiting to hear from PennDOT as to the status or approval of that repair.
Okay, so there has been contact with PennDOT about our concern about the repair. Yes. It was not as efficient as we'd like it to be, right?
Correct.
Okay, so that was one thing I wanted to ask. The other thing was we've been talking about crosswalks, and it just struck me in a couple of weeks ago after that fatal accident in Bellefonte Borough. Was there supposed to be a crosswalk between the courthouse annex and the courthouse? At one time, I think.
Yes.
Okay. Whatever happened to that?
You have to ask the county.
Yeah, I mean, it was a county project. We were never, I mean, it was open-ended. I don't know if they had a deadline. We never received anything saying they were not going to do it.
Wasn't that the raised sidewalk?
I think what happened on that is once they found out the water line coming down the street, that they had the cost of diverting the water line made it prohibitive from them to follow through with it. And quite frankly, since that time, the people that were in charge of it in the planning office at the county, there isn't one person there anymore. So I really don't anticipate them proceeding with that project.
Well, it was in the master plan, though.
And it went through the planning commission.
Right.
But they didn't anticipate the additional cost for having to change the water line, which runs right through the flower garden or planting garden that they had.
I did remember there was some concern about water backing up with a raised crosswalk. Well, so the question is, if they're not going to go through with it as a raised sidewalk, crosswalk, is there a possibility we could do a stamped pavement, or could we paint parallel lines there to create a crosswalk? Because I know a lot of county employees cross at that section of road. I'm just asking, do you want to pursue this, council, or do you want to just let the sleeping dog lie? It's up to you all.
Hey, Doug, we could go back to Ray in the planning office and find out what the status is and see if they're going to proceed with it. And if not, maybe we could make some suggestions to them like what you just mentioned, since we already did it down on Potter Street.
It's sort of up to council.
I think that, you want to make a motion? I think that's a reasonable request.
Sure, I'll make a motion to contact the county planning office and see what the status is of the crosswalk that was planned between the courthouse annex and the courthouse on High Street.
I'll second that.
So that's Johnson and Prendergast.
I think we should just be able to go say what's the deal, but if we need a motion, I'll.
It-
So there is a painted crosswalk there now, is that correct?
There is no painted crosswalk at all, Randy.
And that's,
People are just jaywalking across.
Okay.
Yes, Deb.
I have a question. Is this is not at the intersection of High and Allegheny? This would be a mid-block?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, because PennDOT does have rules about mid-block crosswalks that are within a certain number of feet of an intersection that has a crosswalk.
I agree with you, Deb.
This was approved in the plan when they did the courthouse annex. This,
Right.
Yeah, we actually have approval of plans of this crosswalk.
Okay.
So I'm confused as to where this crosswalk is. It on High Street?
Randy, if you're coming out of the courthouse annex on the High Street side.
Where the door is.
Yes, and there was a crosswalk planned to go directly across High Street to the courthouse property because
Right.
of the traffic of the employees, attorneys, judges that go from courtroom to courtroom or office to office. It's on the plan and it was approved.
Okay, so that's the one that would have been higher. That's the one that would have been higher up than where the street actually meets Allegheny. I thought there was a crosswalk there.
No, yes, you're correct, Randy.
Yes.
That's a crosswalk rain garden.
That is correct, and it was approved, but was never followed through because of what Dawn said. It was found that there's a water line underneath there, which would have caused problems. But if we could just paint parallel lines, I'm fine with that to make it an official crosswalk. Otherwise, they're jaywalking. And we just had a big discussion last meeting about people jaywalking in the borough and asked our borough police to step up enforcement of it. So it sort of makes sense to me to do something.
So we've had a motion, we've had a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? So moved. Anything else for streets?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Moving on to energy, environmental conservation, Mike.
You know, we had a meeting on the Bellefonte cap draft ordinances, or cap drafted of
Report.
V3, their version 3. Want to consider a motion to review the plan and place on the 21st agenda for consideration of adoption. So I'd like to make that motion.
Who's going to second it?
I'll second it, Hamboski.
Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Next item?
The next item is the DEP Shared Emergency Management Program. There's an email attached. We need to consider a motion to accept the invitation.
Prendergast, who's going to second it?
I'll second it, but it's shared energy manager, not shared emergency.
I never said I could read.
I'll second that.
Okay. For those who are listening, this is a free service by the Department of Environmental Protection to provide us with someone who can help us craft and get the climate action plan program implemented. Since we don't have the staff here that has that expertise, they're actually offering 5 municipalities throughout the state a free service for the next year. But we had to let them know tentatively last Thursday that we were interested, and Don has to let them know tomorrow whether or not we accepted it as a council.
And it's free, right?
And it's free.
Okay.
That's the selling point.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So Don, you got your marching orders.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Okay, then we'll move on to old business. Ralph?
Sure. The first item is information or an agreement from the county in regard to a grant from the CARES Act funding that went through Center County government. They have an allotment of $64,000 and $64,169. We do have to approve the agreement and abide by the agreement. We turn in receipts and get reimbursed up to that amount.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Oh,
Try that again. Who hasn't seconded it in a while?
Clayton.
Who?
Clayton.
Clayton, okay. Clayton, you got it.
You're on the.
I've never heard Pendergrass do anything on that. It's Clayton all the time. So.
I'm good at it.
Any discussion?
Go for
Seeing
it.
none? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? So moved.
Thank you. The next item that you see on the agenda is about some old business items, of course. Spring Township discussions on policing, state police discussions. We mentioned earlier about the intersection that just over the borough line, Pine Street, Mill Street, State Route 144. All those are pending. We're waiting to hear and get some more information from the other parties involved. Similarly, we're waiting to set up a meeting on site involving the stormwater that runs from Zion Road into the Parkwood Drive area and see if PennDOT can help us resolve that. I believe that's all I have under old business.
Anybody else have any old business? Any questions for Al? Okay, we'll move on to new business then.
New business, there's two items. One's some of the members of council and myself sat in on a police policy review webinar that was produced by the Boroughs Association. And we took from that the idea of having a similar review done with our police policies. And the request is to get some quotes and consider putting some funds in the 2021 budget to have this review completed.
So we need a motion to direct Ralph to obtain estimates of the cost of a legal review of liability issues associated with police policies and who is responsible for all aspects of these policies. And in that discussion meeting, I'll need a second, then I'll tell you.
I will make the motion to do let's call it a request for quotes on the costs.
I'll second the motion, Brackville.
So what we discussed is that we know of at least two sets of lawyers that are specialized in this area. One is Julie, who we use on a regular basis for our employment and labor issues. The other one is the lawyers that presented at this PSAB webinar. And we were thinking, contacting both of them to see what was the most cost effective instead of just getting one estimate.
Oh joy, more lawyers.
I think it was a rather eye-opening session. So I think it's a good idea to go through with this. It'll help educate us as a council on what our responsibilities are and how the responsibility and liability flows through the whole organization of borough government to through the police or from council to the police and with the mayor involved in his roles as defined in the borough code. It was, I thought it was an excellent webinar.
It was a series of 3 webinars, and basically the concern is that you as a council member are liable for anything that unforeseen happens with any of the policies. And the recommendation is that periodically the council with some legal assistance review all of the policies to make sure they're current and up to date, and make any changes that might be necessary to help out the police and also reduce any possible liability should something unforeseen happen.
I understand the need for all the legal opinions. It's just that they specialize so much that you have to get so many lawyers to do it. That's my only objection.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes.
Was there anything that precipitated this?
It was the webinar, and they talked about other communities throughout the state that had been smacked with multi-million-dollar suits. And the recommendation from PSAB was that we, as a municipality, take on the task of just reviewing. So it's nothing that's happened here.
Okay, so this is to determine whether or not we are engaging counsel to look at this. I mean, engaging an attorney, a solicitor to look at this.
To review the policies and make recommendations for any changes that might affect our liability, or to improve the policies that the police force that we have is using, to make sure that they would look at the state laws, federal laws, make sure everything is set and our policies are fully in line with those things.
And may I ask who these attorneys are?
The 2 different attorneys that Ralph has suggested that we look at. One of them is Julie, the woman we've used for all of our labor employment issues. The other one is there were 2 different lawyers that did this webinar series, and ask each of them to put in a bid as well.
Are they local attorneys is what I'm.
None of the 3 of them are local.
Okay, thank you very much. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah.
That's what I needed to know.
So along with that, when we attended this seminar, it wasn't just, it was about the policies and how out of date things get, and where officers were making arrests and they'd go to court and they'd pull the policies out of whatever what was the word I'm trying to, the example that they were trying to use, and most of the time it got thrown out of court. So that's another reason to I think look at these policies. But I also think it's important to look at all our policies across the board, across all departments, not just police. We're not picking on the police on this one, but we just happened to go to a seminar that called out, we kind of realized we don't know, and what we don't know could hurt us. So we want to find out if we're where we need to be with policies.
Probably should have been at that training.
So anyway, I think it's a good idea. Good idea across the board.
Not trying to pick on you, Sean.
Yeah, Sean, I sat in the first webinar. I was the only person on council. And then I made mention to other people on council about what the content was. And then I think we were up to about 4 members of council watching, while Ralph and 4 members watching it. And I think with each session, we sort of found out, okay, there's things we need. They were asking questions about policies and such that none of us on council had any idea about. And it was not directed that anybody in Bellefonte did anything wrong. It was just looking at it from a lawyer's perspective, what the borough, the kind of questions the borough would be asked if an officer ended up in court or say, you know, a high-speed pursuit or something like that. So I think it's actually going to be good for us, I think, if it doesn't cost us an arm and a leg. So that's why we're just going out for a price quote to see if we, you know, what it's going to take.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Thanks.
All righty. Next item under new business is consider approval of its minimum municipal obligations. And I believe we have 2 of the 3 plans in the information that was sent out with the agenda. We're waiting on the last one. So what we have with us is the police pension minimum municipal obligation. And that number for budgeting for 2021 is $117,331. And the next item is the cash balance plan under the PSA or Pennsylvania Municipal Retirement Program. And that's for $37,798. And again, we're waiting on the defined benefit plan numbers for 2021.
Okay. So let me ask you this. We need a motion to accept these. So we just be accepting just these 2 this evening or all 3 of them?
We're only accepting 2, and just to clarify, there is a corresponding resolution that goes along with the police plan. It's more of an auditing document than anything, but I'm asking with your motion to include the approval of that particular resolution. It didn't have a number assigned it, but we usually assign the date.
So I self-assigned it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I need a motion to pass resolution 0908-2020-01, which is the Bellefonte Police Pension Plan for 2021, and approve both numbers for the police pension and the cash balance.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Eaton.
Second.
And Brackbill. Discussion?
Joanne, the only thing I will say to the public is relative to percentage of payroll, the percentage this year and last year is exactly the same for these 2 pension funds. So it's I would say the cost is the same. It's just a function of whatever our payroll is this year. So no change, in other words.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so moved. And we'll bring up, will we have the 3rd one for the next meeting, Ralph?
Yes, we have to approve all of them by the end of September.
3rd MMO at next meeting. Okay. Any other new business?
That's all I have.
Any other public comments from anybody? Last chance, guys. Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I would gladly make that motion.
Prendergast?
I'll second it.
Oh, I was going to refuse to.
Clayton? I don't see any opposition. So we're adjourned at 10:19 p.m.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night, ladies and
Thanks to the
gentlemen. It's
public
been a
for
pleasure as always.
Thanks. Bye. Good night.
Good night.